Well, thanks very much indeed. Welcome to the show. I am Jim Ferguson, and I've got an incredible guest here that I'm meeting in London, Dr. Mike Yeadon. It's so good to see you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
You know, you are one of the leading voices as a scientist, as a lead researcher within the Pfizer structure. Just for the sake of our audience, for the few people that might not have heard of you, tell us a little bit about, who you are, what you were doing, as a start to this interview, and then we'll go on to some of the other things.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So I say to people, I was a lifetime biology-based researcher. I was in commercial research. I worked at big pharma, including Pfizer. I was at one time vice president and worldwide head of research in respiratory and allergic diseases for Pfizer. And I left in 2011 when they closed their UK research base, and I enjoyed 10 years as an independent in biotech. I consulted to about 30 companies. I also founded, led, and eventually sold my own biotech company called Ziarco. So I've seen both biotech and big pharma from the research perspective, and I was enjoying a well-earned early semi-retirement in 2020 when basically the alleged pandemic began.
Now, I mean, a lot of us fairly early on knew there was something not right. We saw the red flags. We knew there was something not right because the governments of the world appeared to be coming out with the same policies, the same narrative, the same dialogue in lockstep together at the same time.
I know. That's one of the things that, for a start, this idea of lockdown that was talked about and then imposed in the spring, I think it was March 2020. For a start, ladies and gentlemen, lockdown, it's an American expression from the penal system. Why was it being used in British political TV? And then when I looked in France, Italy, Germany, they were using exactly the same language. And then when they did do lockdown, and they did furlough, it's another American expression. Furlough, it's never a word I'd ever heard being used in Britain. So I would point out that lockdown and furlough, and used in every country wherever I looked, meant, and this is proof of what I call a supranational agenda. So my country didn't decide to do it any more than Italy, France, Germany, Spain. Somebody above the level of the nation had decided, and I think told them, whether they'd rehearsed it beforehand or whether they were told by their Sir Humphreys, their advisors, to just get on with it, I couldn't tell you. But I knew by March 2020 that at least the countries of Europe were following a supranational agenda. Prior to that time, prior to 2020, Jim, I listened to Radio 4 for 41 years in the morning, read the Sunday Times every week. So I think of myself as a very normal person, I would say easily deceived. I didn't realise that governments ever told lies systematically.
Who would have thought? I mean,
it never occurred to me that my government would follow orders from someone outside the country to our detriment. Because, as you said, you were looking at red flags. I remember thinking, how bad is this alleged disease that you're going to shut healthy people up at home? Because that's what they did, didn't they? They said to healthy people, if you're not, what do they call it, special workers, what was the... reserved occupation, something like that. If you weren't some special nature of your job, you're pretty much told to stay at home. Healthy people. How's that going to help? How is that going to help? At the time, I believed that respiratory illnesses were contagious. They're not, folks. They're really not. But even if you believe that, the instruction would make healthy people stay at home. And so how would healthy people staying at home prevent some infectious disease spreading anywhere? And the answer is it wouldn't. So quite quickly, I remember thinking, my wife quotes me saying the very day lockdown was ordered, she said, you were walking around the house all evening going, we are in so much trouble. Because I didn't know what was going on, Jim. This had not happened. I had no background to equip me to understand what was going on, but I knew it was wrong. It was inappropriate. Also, I remember 2008, the global financial crisis. And this is 12 years earlier. And I remember thinking, this is going to bankrupt the country. It will bankrupt the country. It will bankrupt all the countries of Europe. How will we ever repay the debts that are being incurred? And I thought, my children's future will be destroyed. Maybe my own money will be destroyed by inflation. So I knew it didn't make sense from a public health perspective. From a macroeconomic standpoint, I knew it was crazy. And yet there they were on the television telling us to stay at home. So I think it was by the end of the spring, I realised, because of this supranational, everyone in lockstep, I realised that someone somewhere intended to impose basically an order on all of the people in Europe. And then I looked in America and oh my God, it's the same there in most states. I realised that basically it was powerful people. I didn't know who. I still don't know precisely who, but what should we say, moneyed people, foundations with names that have worked together across the United Nations and all their subsidiary bodies for decades. It's not hard to find, folks, once you start looking. The International Panel on Climate Change, the Council for Foreign Relations, all these supranational bodies, basically, I thought, well, they've already got tremendous control at the level of nation, but not of individuals. So I figured, well, what's the next frontier? It would be control at the level of individuals. And I didn't just think that, by conceptually. I could see people like Bill Gates talking about digital ID. I think Tony Blair, God bless his cotton socks, talking about digital ID. And I thought, I already knew that we have really good passports, driving licenses, and other photo ID that were already high quality that could be used for cameras, for example, facial recognition cameras. So I thought there's already really good ID. So why are they talking about a new form of digital ID? And I'll warn people, folks, the government already has got you carrying state-issued ID. So you can identify yourself to whomsoever should need it already with high fidelity. There's no question I am Mike Yeadon. I could show a passport, I'm definitely me. The reason I'm mentioning this is there is talk, is there not, of a new form of digital ID. And I'm just pointing out to you, you don't need a new form of digital ID, and I don't. So why is it being promulgated? It's because they, whoever they are, the perpetrators I call them, they need it in order to control you.
And that's the thing.
It's a real scary fact. And you must reject it. It's not needed. They want it. You don't need it.
The whole concept of everything that they've done with the pandemic. It wasn't a real pandemic. It was a complete and utter psychological operation.
It was, yes. People were frightened by lies and propaganda and fake tests and all this.
Let me ask you. I mean, you were a very, very senior scientist, highly and still are highly respected. What sort of pushback did you get? Did you get people sort of leaning on you and saying, Dr. Yeadon, I think you're maybe saying too much?
Absolutely, I did. I was still, when I said I moved into a well-deserved early retirement, I was still consulting to, I think, 3 biotech companies. And during the summer, I got call from one CEO after another. And by the third time, I said, look, Bob, I know what this is about. Basically, investors in those companies called the CEO and said, this guy on our advisory board, is this the conspiracy theorist? It's like, you got to get rid of him. So these were the same people who had been funding me from 2011 to 2017 and all made money, frankly. They all made like between 3x and 10x money on me because I started the company with an idea and some compounds I managed to spin out of my former employer, who were only going to discard the patents. And with 3 or 4 friends and like $30 million, we converted it into a completely new medicine of a new direction in dermatology instead of respiratory. We did a nice short clinical trial. It was wonderfully positive. And after a bit of a bum fight, Novartis, the biggest drug company in the world at the time, bought us for a big multiple of the investors' money. It was like my first and only go at being a biotech CEO. But because I'd consulted to other firms, I could see ways in which you could go wrong, like don't raise too much money. It's so easy to raise too much money, you end up with too high a cap. Now you can't get out. And also I knew very well what other big companies wanted because I went and asked them. And because I had operated as the in-licensing technical specialist for Pfizer for about 10 years. I'd reviewed about 100 biotechs. So I didn't realize I had all that I needed. But in the first year, one of the investors in a company I was consulting to said, it was like grilling me. It's like, what's happening to the compounds you left behind? And so it was him that said, you've got everything you need to make a biotech. And within like a year, we'd started one. So with all of this, I would say I was well regarded. I would say, if I mentioned to your listeners that in 2017, so only 3 years before the pandemic, so closer to the pandemic than we are now, a former Pfizer board member, Dr. John Lamattina, guy I like, he was head of Pfizer Worldwide Research, R&D, I think, and he wrote up my experience in biotech in Forbes magazine, business magazine.
Right.
Yeah, and it was something like turning Pfizer discards into gold. Turning Pfizer discards into gold. So if you look that up and see a Pfizer board member thought what I had done was pretty smart, done well.
Yeah.
So anybody that's thinking, well, this guy's a conspiracy theorist, well, it is a conspiracy. It's not a theory.
It's not a theory.
It's not a theory. So yeah, by spring of 2020, I realised that we were being lied to. Lying has been the theme. Basically, all the time your government speaks to you, it doesn't tell you the truth.
Well,
why? They're following an agenda. They're following an agenda, it seems to me, and I think that agenda is control.
Right.
And then what people with control, Jim, will do is up to them, isn't it?
There
seems
seems
to be controlled.
No, and I think most people just want to be left alone.
Leave me to get on with my life.
Correct. Yet there are people that enjoy the power.
So it seems.
And it was almost like a test of how far they could push it. I remember, what was it, 2 weeks to flatten the curve?
Yeah. Just think, for 2 weeks.
They were lying. They knew. They knew.
No, they knew.
This was a long-term plan, Mike.
Yes, it was.
But a lot of people, I mean, there are still people out there that still maybe don't understand. Maybe they'll never understand. But there's a lot of people out there that do. I mean, the listeners, the people that follow this show are some of the smartest people around. And they have seen the posts. I've put up many interviews that you've done. I mean, it's a great honour for me to actually meet you in person.
Let me just mention one other person who I would credit with. When I saw that, it was like all the tumblers fell into place. A German journalist called Paul Schreier, Schreyer, Paul Schreier, and he issued he did like a TV style documentary, 1 hour, and it was something like something like a pandemic preparation for a new era, something like that. I think it was preparation for a new era, and he walked me through like the 25 years, Jim, of wargaming, desktop planning of pandemics. 25 years, starting in an Air Force base near Washington in America in the late 90s. And about every 2 years, an increasingly large group was practicing the spread of some phantom new illness with a view to imposing control, which finished with injecting almost everybody. That was the theme.
And that's mRNA technology.
They ended up with mRNA, but basically what I've just told you is from the 90s, a group of a larger and larger group, starting with the US and eventually finishing with everybody, including the Chinese CDC and the EU and so on, were getting round tables bigger and bigger and planning desktop wargaming of a scenario like the one we had. We'll terrify the public, tell them they need to lock down, and tell them we'll save them with an injection. That was the theme. Paul Schreier walks you through, I think there were about 10 simulations. Operation Crimson Tide, Operation Atlantic Storm. I mean, seriously, you go and look them up. You can find them on the websites of all these foundations. I didn't know about them. Once I saw Paul Schreier's documentary, of course, with horror, I realised what this meant. It meant a group of individuals had war games and practiced and involved more and more people in public health preparation methods in order to be able to cope with a worldwide pandemic. And quite quickly, I realised, as someone who's understood immunology, I thought, I actually don't think pandemics are possible. I just don't think they are. And I'm now very sure that they've never occurred. And the stories that there have been these widespread illnesses, I think lots of them have been faked through poisonings.
Right.
Honestly.
What do you say to people?
I do not believe healthy people can fall prey to a contagious disease and die. It's a mad idea. It's not true. And the occasions where you're told it happened, things like the so-called Spanish flu pandemic, 1918-19. I was just talking about this with my wife recently. Her grandfather was a young medic in World War One and spent the rest of his life as a medic. He was a very well-regarded medic. And so she was a little child speaking to him in his 70s. He never mentioned the pandemic, although he spoke of trench warfare. He spoke of medicine after the war. I don't think there was such a thing as the Spanish flu pandemic. I think it was injected into the media in the 20s, 30s, 40s. And the people who died in great profusion, the one thing you can look up and find out is it was the only so-called flu pandemic in which most people who died were young and male. And the victims were non-demobbed World War One soldiers and naval people.
They passed that off, though, as the fact that it had produced a cytokine storm. In other words, what for our audience, an overreaction of a healthy immune system.
So they say, but they were.
So they say.
But remember, they were all dead by then. By the time they were looking at it, these people, it was like 50 to 100 years ago. I know that it was said that the people who died of pneumonia. That may or may not be true. What there wasn't was a contagious illness passing from person to person. I think the people were injected with poisonous materials, so-called flu vaccines, and they were also overdosed with that newly discovered drug called aspirin, acetyl salicylic acid, Bayer aspirin. They were given like 20 grams of the stuff. I mean, it's like if you've ever taken aspirin if you've taken it slightly in excess and you end up with very sore stomachs, that's not good for you. And so basically, I think these people were poisoned.
When you see these
not a contagious illness, that's my point. There's no evidence of a contagious illness either in Spanish flu or in the recent so-called COVID pandemic. Not contagious. People were ill.
Right.
They weren't ill with something that they gave to someone else. They were just made ill in the normal way that you get illnesses, acute respiratory illnesses.
When you see these supranational globalist bodies like the World Health Organization, even the aspects of the United Nations, the World Economic Forum,
definitely,
the Bilderberg Group, the Council of 300, the Trilateral Commission,
the Club of Rome.
I mean, there are so many.
There are literally dozens of them,
and they compete with each other. They're not always friendly, but they have one thing in common.
Yeah.
A one world global order that they control.
Absolutely.
Do you think that perhaps with the advances in robotics, technology, artificial intelligence, that some people who are in those organizations at the top senior levels may have thought, you know what, we don't need the berry pickers, we don't need the fruit pickers, we don't need the lorry drivers. We have the technology using drones and artificial intelligence. Do we really need to keep these people around?
Yeah,
the useless eaters.
I think that is, Jim, that's the phrase. Yuval Harari, he's a historian, I think, not a doctor, but and so he's used the phrase. What are we going to do with all these? The useless class.
The useless class.
His German accent, or Israeli German accent.
And he has said that there will be no use for them, no need for them.
We'll give them, he said, video games and drugs, I think is what he said.
That's exactly what he said.
Honestly, so people who think of you, or maybe your relatives or friends, as useless class, for whom the only future is to be drugged and like playing video games on a screen. It's like, do you want that person to be running any part of the world in which you're part?
Well, they've also...
but I think they believe their own hype that we can run the world on maybe 10% or 5% of the population. That would be enough to keep their luxuriant asses in great comfort, wouldn't it? And I do think they would be quite happy to, frankly, kill off the rest of us. I don't know that's what they want to do.
Well, you know something,
I would
Dr. Yeadon, I have interviewed many other scientists and immunologists and virologists, top doctors, people like Dr. Lord Malone and Dr. Peter McCullough, many people, professors, scientists. And once I've gotten to know them, sometimes I've said to them, look, this doesn't make sense
No.
that our governments would do this to their own people. There has to be a darker agenda. There must be.
Yeah.
And we've kind of touched on that, but let's explore that a bit more, because if that's true, then the people that took those decisions, not only are they incredibly arrogant,
Yes.
what human being has the right to,
Yeah.
not just take a life, but take potentially millions or billions of lives?
Absolutely. So that is what has happened. I would point out, even if it was completely wrong and it was an infectious disease, remember, almost no healthy person under 60 was even alleged to have died of this. So I don't think there was a pandemic. I don't think they occur. But let's say there even was, just for the sake of argument. Was it of a magnitude that warranted closing down half the economy of the world for a big period of time? The answer is no. And then this is my field, that developing potential new medicines and looking very carefully about what could go wrong. That is, understanding how it is that you could be injured by a chemical when things go wrong. I'm one of the few people for who I have a proper training in that field. It's called mechanistic toxicology. It's understanding at a mechanical, molecular level how it is when aspirin injures people or thalidomide injures people. How did that happen?
Mechanistic
toxicology. Yeah. So there aren't many people who've studied that course, because I think there's only one or two universities giving the course. And it happened that there were a bunch of clever toxicologists at the same university I was present, and they decided to run that as a module. So I studied biochemistry and toxicology, and that was really useful when I joined the industry. I studied biochemistry, so I liked understanding how chemical structures in the body were then used to provide energy, to form structures, how those enzymes would like shuffle molecules around the cell and allow you to move and to signal. And that allowed me to be good friends with organic chemists, because organic chemists design most of the new pharmaceuticals. So I understood their structures, I could draw them, I understood when they drew the structure what they were meaning. And so I was then in very tight with people designing new molecules. But because I had this toxicological background, anytime someone would draw a structure, I would be thinking, have I seen a structure like this before that's harmed anybody? And if I did, I would say, excuse me, have you thought of this, mixed AOR group with the nitrogen on the side? Oh, should we look at the risk of whatever it was, certain kinds of liver cancer or some kidney injury or whatever? So when I looked at these so-called vaccines in the summer of 2020, it was a real oh my god moment, because I could see there were multiple structures and ingredient choices that had been made for which I could only see one outcome, and that was harming people. So just very quickly, if you prompt the body to make a protein that isn't one of yours, so we're told it was spike protein. I don't know exactly what it was, but your bodies, if you took these injections, were prompted to make something that wasn't Jim Ferguson's body, that wasn't Mike Yeadon's body, but a protein from some foreign source. If your body does that, your immune system or your self-defense system is surveilling your body at all times. And if it spots something that's not meant to be in you, it will literally jump that cell and kill it. That's how it protects you from cancers that arise cell by cell. Your self-defense system spots that something's gone wrong and bundles it out the back door and kills it. So if you inject a person with a piece of code that's going to travel around your body and make cells, force cells to make something that doesn't belong in your body, guess what? You've injected autoimmune disease.
Right.
So, and I've said that I've not been rebutted. I've said this for 4.5 years. No one has rebutted that, Jim. And I think that's one of the things, straight off the needle, people's bodies started making a protein that didn't belong in them. Their immune system said, what the hell's going on here? And killed every cell following the instructions. But there's another thing that's so awful. They were the mRNA products, that's Pfizer, BioNTech and Moderna. The mRNA products were formulated in a sort of kind of fatty globules called lipid nanoparticles. It was known decades ago that lipid nanoparticles tend to deposit the payload, that is the molecule that you put in it, in this case, a genetic code. Those lipid nanoparticles preferentially deposit their payloads into the ovaries. So imagine now you combine, if you inject a woman or a girl with this stuff, it'll go around the body, but it'll be preferentially going to her ovaries. And then it'll be doing what I've just described, making something that shouldn't be in them, followed by destruction.
I remember them saying at the time to pregnant women,
don't take it.
No. They said it's safe and effective.
Exactly. And I said, well, they said it, you're right, Jim. One, they encouraged pregnant women to take it. I was almost screaming at the television. I wrote in several documents, if you are pregnant or thinking of becoming pregnant, or even if you're earlier than, if you're not even an adult woman, please don't give this to girls. That's what will be happening. I cannot tell how bad the damage will be. Within a few weeks, the Emma Barnett of the BBC, someone I used to like and listen to, she ran a programme on Women's Hour and had someone from the Royal College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and they spent half an hour rubbishing me as a conspiracy theorist. And my daughters both sent me the broadcast saying you have to sue them. Now I didn't want to sue them, but I wrote to the programme. I wrote to Emma Barnett's editor, and I said you've said wrong things. I do think these are wrong, but I have not said whatever. They're alleged lots of things I haven't said. I said you basically need to take down the segment, or I will sue you within 48 hours. And they just removed it. They removed the broadcast.
Wow.
But Emma Barnett said, I'm going to name him, Dr. Mike Yeadon, conspiracy theorist, going to be harmful for pregnant women. What do you say, lady from the Royal College of Obs and Gynae? And she said, they're safe and effective and you should all get them. It's like, Jim, it's like, they have not even run any reproductive toxicology where you inject pregnant rats to see whether the babies come out okay. They've not done those studies. And yet they were willing to inject girls, women, pregnant women.
There is another school of thought.
They haven't done the tests to tell you how it would turn out.
There's another school of thought that thinks that maybe they did, but they weren't made public because they wanted something that wasn't actually going to do that.
Quite possibly.
And that goes back to the dark agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're trying to attack human fertility, and especially women that give birth to children, and we have seen. I've interviewed people, midwives, etc. We were talking just a little while ago about, others that have sort of raised the alarm.
Yeah.
What do you say to people that believe the government? And many were under pressure through loss of job, work, had to put bread on the table, food on the table for their families. That went along with it, and then got sick, got ill. Some of whom have sadly passed away. I mean, Professor Rancourt, when I met him in Ottawa,
Dennis Rancourt.
Dennis Rancourt, he said in his estimation, and that was a couple of years ago. He reckoned there was about 20 million people globally.
Whether they were killed by the adverse effects of the injections or whether they were killed by inappropriate treatment in hospitals and care homes.
Right.
Lots of people, I'm afraid, folks, were killed as a direct result of what the government said and what they made you, or forced you to do, coerced you to do. What do I say to you? I'd say, one, I'm so terribly sorry that people have been injured or killed. Why would you suspect that your government is going to harm you? So I have tremendous sympathy for those people who allowed themselves to be mugged into being injected. I would say, though, I have said this, it sounds a bit ruthless, it's from now on, anyone who believes nonsense about bird flu or swine flu or whatever it is, and you must roll up your sleeves and receive an injection that's been made in 11 months. Like, don't be a mug twice.
Exactly.
Don't be a mug twice. As Jim pointed out, that the people who have wrecked your economy, smashed civil society, psychological injury is on all of us. I mean, I do not feel like I'm the same person as I was 5.5 years ago.
None of us are.
I speak because I don't want to despair. I want people to know that the people who are doing this will win if we just let them. If we are passive, they will roll us over, they'll take away cash, they'll impose digital ID, and I'm afraid then that will be that. But we just need to not comply and demand that we have our normal freedom to exist peacefully and move about. That's all we need to do.
Dr. Yeadon, do you believe that there may well be, because I know that I have spoken to very many professionals in the medical field who do feel this way, that there is in fact an active and has been an active depopulation agenda. We've had Bill Gates,
Yeah.
whose TED Talks, and he's come out and he's said it,
He's obsessed with population,
isn't he?
Yeah, and you know what? One of the few things. I mean, I used to believe everything I was told by the government, mostly, pretty much. Yeah, I would say I believed everything. Sometimes I would think, oh, they're probably not right, but I never thought they are lying to me.
Right.
So I never got as far as that. Several of my friends said, you are very naive, Mike. Did you not realise that Tony Blair and Alistair Campbell lied to the country in respect of bombing Iraq?
Weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, and I thought afterwards, it was like, why did I knew they weren't telling the truth, but it's, and so I point out to you, if you think what I'm describing as a conspiracy theory, it's like there are conspiracies. And whenever that was that 2001? No, 2000, anyway.
3, I think.
Yeah, it was a bit later, so after 9/11. Your government, your Prime Minister, the people on the television lied to you about weapons of mass destruction. They smashed, it wasn't a democratic country, but they smashed a country and killed 1 million innocent people. Our country was responsible for that. And you know what? I feel embarrassed that I wasn't angry enough.
During Blair's tenure, they also bombed Serbia and did a lot of things there too.
They did, absolutely. So basically, I didn't realise how our governments lied to us a lot. And I didn't realise they lied to us a lot until after the sort of lying pandemic stuff. Then I started putting 2 and 2 together. So one of the things I put together is this idea that we, by burning so-called fossil fuels and oil, gas, and so on, are producing an elevation of CO2 in the atmosphere, and that's going to warm the world to smithereens, or as the UN Secretary General last year said, we're past global warming, we are at global boiling. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, it's literally absurd. If you want to, this is not my area of specialty, but I'm a decent scientist, and I've spent 3 years reading into paleoclimate, going all the way back hundreds of thousands of years, and I can tell you for sure that CO2 plays no role whatsoever in setting the global temperature. The temperature is caused to change from time to time. We don't understand all the factors, but it'll be partly the change in solar energy output, partly the angle of our own orbit as we move around the sun, and partly the oval nature of the orbit that we spend around the sun. And so the world will sometimes be warmer and sometimes be cooler. But here's the thing, and I can prove this to you, its temperature changes first and the CO2 in the air changes afterwards. Here's the thing, if you've got a fizzy drink, the fizz in your fizzy drink is dissolved carbon dioxide. When it's got ice in it, it contains lots of fizz. What's the best way of making it go flat? The answer is let the ice melt, let it warm up, and all the CO2 leaves the water. And this is what happens in the world. When the air is warmed by some other factor than us, the seawater gradually warms and it releases the dissolved CO2, and the CO2 in the atmosphere rises. CO2 in the air is a following or trailing indicator. It's not a cause of global warming. And so our tiny little bit that we may have added by burning fossil fuels is swamped by the outgassing of dissolved CO2 from the world's oceans. I think we're 70%. World surface is supposed to be covered 70% by oceans. So as it warms, then that's where the CO2 has come from. That's why it just rises steadily. Why isn't it going up more steeply when we had a war and then flat when we didn't, and then it's just gone up steadily, almost a lockstep, hasn't it, over the last decades?
And I think a lot of people say it's cyclical. Weather patterns change naturally.
Yeah, they do.
But I think even the former head of Greenpeace, I forget his name.
Right. Patrick.
I can't remember exactly his name, but he came out and said, well, our cause for environmentalism, true environmentalism, protecting the flora, the fauna, the seas, the oceans.
I think that's very honourable.
We all agree with that.
Yeah.
But he said it was hijacked by globalism.
Yeah.
And used as an excuse for reduction of carbon. But here's the thing, when they say they want to reduce the carbon, I think they're actually talking about human carbon, human beings.
They want to reduce for example, they want to reduce the amount of travel that you can do. The UN 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, you can look them up. I think there are 17 of them, and they definitely do talk very overtly about reducing the amount of international travel to the point they want to curtail. Maybe you might travel one short-haul flight every 2 or 3 years. That's what they're saying. It's like, do you think they're going to let you go anywhere? They're not, are they? That if you let them have control of your life, which they will with digital ID, if you allow them to impose digital ID, which you'll have to present ahead of every purchase or movement across any regulated threshold, if you let them do that to you, they'll if you give them that inch, they'll take a mile. And I think you won't be traveling anywhere. The UN is trying to impose the 15-minute city concept.
Yes.
And they say, oh, it'll be good. You can have everything within 15 minutes of home. I have no objection to that. What I have an objection to is you won't travel beyond 15 minutes from home. You won't need a car, folks. You won't be going further than 15 minutes from your own home.
Well, they say one of the Sustainable Development Goals for the Agenda 2030 is that by 2030 you're not going to have a car.
Exactly. You won't need a car. You won't have a car.
Yeah, and the old Great Reset. You will own nothing and be happy.
Absolutely.
Well, I think one of the things that people are obviously going to be interested in is this new central bank digital currency that's coming in. And in fact, it's like the Hunger Games. They call these 15-minute smart cities districts. And Mike's right. I mean, if they have control of central bank digital currencies and your money, if you leave that district without authorization, your money may no longer work if you go to another.
Seriously, people don't seem to believe this, but you must know this when I describe it. Your mobile phone has such precise tracking that it knows within a few meters where you are. So if they'll know what your registered address is, there'll be a scribed line that describes as the boundary of your district, your 15-minute city. If you are a few hundred meters beyond that boundary in this future dystopia, and you present your digital ID, it knows who you are and where you are, and it will be outside of district. Transaction declined. Your money won't work.
It's happening in China.
I was going to say, I'm no computer buff, but even I think a clever 10-year-old could write the logic for the code. Where is potential customer? Is customer inside or outside of their zone? If outside, decline transaction. That's what they're going to do. So
the Chinese credit score system is now locking people out their own apartments. You have to have an app on your phone. If you say something against the state, you do something they don't like, you get downgraded. People can't get into the supermarkets. They can't get public transport. Now they're getting locked out of their own apartments. This is something that World Economic Forum devotees have praised. They love the Chinese credit score system.
They absolutely love it. Of course, the reason they love it is those people regard you and me and Jim as useless eaters. What do you think happens to useless eaters in a system where a central powerful group has total control over your ability to travel and to buy food, maybe to obtain medical care if you need it? What do you think is going to happen? So I don't even need to know what they'll do. I'm fairly sure from what they've said, what they will do. If you cede control of your ability to buy and sell, and your ability to travel around freely, I suspect people who regard us as useless eaters are probably going to kill us, don't you? I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. They've talked about wanting to reduce the population. They've said one of the reasons for curtailment of our travel rights and use of manufactured goods is because they're worried that we're warming the planet up. We're not. If you go and look at even the claimed temperature change since pre-industrial times is no more than 2 degrees. I assure you that if you look back over the last few thousand years, the world has been a lot warmer than it is now, without the world spontaneously combusting. So why do you think the world's going to spontaneously combust the next time it gets? It's just absurd. The world is a vital place that's got loads of resources. The ability to grow food, for example, Jim, people don't know this. They worry about population. The ability to produce food has outpaced the increase in population over the last century. If you go and look at like hectares of wheat or whatever per million people. It's well ahead of the population.
There's no legitimate reason to reduce the population. Even Elon Musk has said we need more people.
Exactly, and I tell you what, if the population hasn't already crested and begun to fall, it will soon.
It is now.
And even if they haven't run the pandemic and injected people with something that as I said, are designed to injure people, even naturally, when people get more control over reproductive health and they're more comfortable, they don't want 8 children mostly, unless you're very wealthy like Elon Musk. Most people stop at 1, 2, 3. The biggest reason for having relatively low fertility rates is a larger percentage of women have 0 children. I remember seeing a good documentary. It is a slight increase in the number of women who have no children. That's what's caused. I think it was 2.5 children when I was born in 1960, or maybe 2.7. And now we're down to, it's less than replacement, isn't it?
So when people hear, I mean, there are, as I say, our international audience is fairly big, and they're pretty smart. In fact, they're very smart.
Good.
But what do you say to people when we identify these issues and problems? I mean, in terms of solutions, our freedom movement, Freedoms International, is at the cutting edge. It's teaching people what to do. But what would you say people can do?
Yeah, practically, I would say the things we need to. I want us to carry on having the free lives that we've experienced before, and I see no reason why we shouldn't do that. So don't feel like you should be controlled. But how do you maintain control of your own life? It's make sure that cash is not removed. Personally, since I realised that they wanted to remove cash and impose a digital currency which would be controlled, as soon as I do remember, within a few days of getting this realisation, I was quite slow to this party. I realised I decided to use cash every chance I got, and since I spent a year in America in 2022, and when I came home at the beginning of 23, for the last 2.5 years, unless unavoidably digital, I've used cash. I probably use tens of thousands of. I just get money out of Cash Point every day I go past, and I revel in the freedom to transact with whomever I like. Always have a conversation with the cashier or the merchant. So cash is freedom, and cash is anonymity.
Yes,
and that's really important. And that's what it is: anonymity, privacy, and freedom. It's like, in what world does the government have the right to know whether I buy a steak today or not? It's like none of their business. And we hear people like Ursula von der Leyen wanting to reduce, she says we want to abolish cash because it's used in crime. I'd say, the biggest criminals, don't just watch the television. If they're in politics, they are criminals. If they're in supranational groups, they are serving the criminals, or they are criminals. What's the best way? I would say the most obvious way, everyone knows this when I say it, of laundering public money and popping it into private hands is funding warfare. Billions of pounds of taxpayers' money has been sent to Ukraine and other places in the past. And guess what happens? That money gets spent through General Dynamics, General Electric, whatever, all these war-making companies. They make planes and bullets and rockets and so on. Guess who owns most of those companies? It'll be the rich people, the ones I call the perpetrators.
The ones like former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak that invested $500 million into Moderna in 2017.
And warfare companies. So exactly. So basically, in biotechs that received huge amounts of public money, engineering companies that received hundreds of billions of taxpayers' money go straight to those companies, click and straight into the private pockets of wealthy people. And they're worried about me spending 10 quid on a steak. It's like, give me an effing break. So I would say an honest person should retain and demand the right. They don't have to, but demand the right to use cash if you want. It's a freedom thing. It's an anonymity. It's a privacy thing. And here's the thing. Any government wanting to get rid of cash is a criminal organisation. We've been using cash and tokens and gold and silver since pre-biblical times, haven't we?
Gold and silver is very popular as well now.
They are real money.
It's real money. That's the thing. That's the thing. And it holds its value.
Yeah. It's held its value over millennia, hasn't it? So one thing you asked, what should you do? One is use cash every chance you get. berate businesses that will not even accept cash. Almost always I ask, do you accept cash? If they say yes, I will still sometimes pay with a card because I want to reward the business that gives you choice, customer choice.
Yes,
Often if it's a small sum, I will pay with cash. If they say, I'm sorry, sir, we only accept cards or worse, telephone, payment with a mobile phone. Unless there was one occasion in an airport where I was so thirsty I thought I was going to die, the plane was delayed, and God help me, I did use my phone to make a payment. That's like the one time in 2.5 years, and I felt shame. I don't think you should do that. You should punish businesses that do not even give you the option to use cash, because someone else might want to use cash. And if it's slightly more expensive, that's fine. Charge me more, right? I have no problem with it.
You're willing to do that for your privacy and anonymity and freedom.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and when governments want to restrict you, so they say you can't spend more than £1,000 in cash, otherwise we'll send the police round, or we'll flag it up as a suspect transaction.
Yeah, because people are getting difficulty withdrawing cash
from their own account.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely, it's getting more and more difficult. So.
Let me ask you, Mike, because I meet lots of people. I've been all over Europe these last few months, and it's been busy and it's been great. But there is a lot of people, especially in the freedom movement, within that broader context, that actually believe we are in a spiritual war. Do you think that's too extreme, or do you think we are?
I think we're literally in a fight for the continuance of the free human race. I've warned people in a recent video, which I called my final warning, because it pretty much says everything I know.
We posted it. It was a great video.
It's quite long, but it was professionally filmed by Phil at Oracle Films. He's a really good guy. I've known him now for 4 years, Phil. He's really good. And Fiona as well has helped me put this together. But yeah, I warned that if you sign up for a new form of digital ID, which I've just pointed out you don't need, you can already identify yourself at borders or whenever if you were suspected of a crime, you can identify yourself already. So why do you think a new form of digital ID is going to come out? Why do you think they'll threaten you with sanctions and punishments if you don't take it? That when we're lied to, I've detected, and this is not a unique thing, I've detected they do it in two ways. They give you the fake reason, the plausible reason for why they're doing it, and then there's the real reason. So it's this ostensible reason, and then the real reason. So if digital ID was useful for me, why would they punish me if I don't want it? They'd say, come on, Mike, this is good for you. Why would they whack me on the head because I won't take it? The answer is, folks, it ain't for me or Jim or you. It's because if you succumb to agreeing to carry a digital ID that you need to present in order to, ahead of any purchase or sale or movement across a regulated threshold, I warn you, every threshold will become a regulated threshold pretty quickly, and you'll be beeping in and out of your own 15-minute city, beeping in and out of your own car if you've got one, beeping in and out of the supermarket. It knows where you are, it knows who you are, it knows what transactions you've conducted recently, and it knows whether you've been a bad boy and done hurty words against the government.
This is
honestly, do not, please, I plead with you, plead to God, sir, do not give them this. If you give them this degree of control over you, I think I've said it's the last important decision you'll ever make.
You did say that.
And I think that's the end, because they have the power to withdraw cash from circulation. They can make it harder for you to get, harder for you to spend, and I may rail against it. I can't stop them doing that. So, but if you say you have no legitimate business knowing where I am within 10 meters at all times of the day and night, I'm not carrying this damn thing. Right? Refuse.
Just say no. Just don't say no.
And I would say this: the worse the threatened sanctions and punishments, the more you will know I'm right. They ain't for you. Yes. It's for them to control you. So don't give up on physical money. Use every kind of money. Gold and silver, frankly. I would have some of that outside the system, but always use some cash. Do not sign up for digital ID. If you're given one and assigned one, do not use it. If you're threatened with punishment, if you do not use it, do not use it more. Right? Seriously? And then lastly, for goodness sake, if the government lies to you, if the government tells you there's a really scary event occurring, don't believe them. Do you really believe that a convenient, really scary event, Jim, is like to occur on the time to suit the people that we've been talking about on and off for the last 40 minutes, these globalist people? So if I say to you, if they warn us something like this, there's been a limited nuclear exchange over Ukraine, please return to your pod and tape up the doors and windows, I am going for a long walk outside. Because
you're a real rebel, Mike.
They're bloody lying.
Yeah.
They'll be lying. The chances that something so convenient that we'll all be shuttling back to our homes and quivering and waiting for the man with the iodine injection.
And fear.
For goodness sake.
Fear is how they do it. But look, Mike, we're approaching the last part. I love that, by the way.
Yeah, no, that's a big walk.
I'm as I always do with my great, wonderful guests, I'm going to invite you to have the last and final word. Bearing in mind that we have hundreds of thousands of people that tune in from all around the world. There's hundreds of thousands from America alone, and Canada, North America, but many people, truly an international audience, and many hundreds of thousands out there, millions of people around the world, of course, hold you in high regard. What would you like to say?
I would say that when I started, I would be what's currently described as a normie. I believed the government was largely benign and mostly told the truth. I was kind of agnostic about religion. Things have changed a lot for me in the last 5 years. So as we've been discussing, I now believe there is a supranational group that have been plotting for decades to essentially to take away your free lives, to control you. And I personally think they have in mind very malign endings, which could lead to your illness or death. I think I have plenty of evidence for that. I've also, shall we say, I've had a new thought about the good versus evil thing, and I'm pretty confident there is a God out there now, and I think I'm on the same side of other people that said there is a benign God that wants us to behave well towards each other and to ourselves, and to oppose with everything we've got people who have malign intent against humanity. So I think the people who are doing, what kind of people could design a product and then see it injected into billions of people, knowing that the most likely outcome was a harm, Jim? It's like, how do these people sleep? They must be comfortable with committing great harms. Now, whether they've got good reasons, they may think they've got good reasons, but I'm telling you they don't. There's plenty of room on this wonderful planet for us all to thrive. To obey our own belief religious systems and to continue our free lives in terms of conduct, sort of healthy, peaceful conduct, and to use our own money and not to have to identify ourselves to the world's policeman every 5 minutes. And so if you do some of the things that I've been suggesting, which I'm sure many of them, they're dear to your heart anyway, I think we can stop these supranational people winning, because I think their objective is to control everyone everywhere, and I'm not going to let them do it. I would rather walk alone. I'd rather walk out of the settlement, Jim, than stay within it if I have to be controlled. And I think if enough people are willing to have that mindset, oh, and here's the thing, next time you're threatened, you've got to do a certain thing or there'll be a punishment, I say to you, even if they say, if you don't take digital ID, we're not going to pay your state benefits, I'm going to ask you to delay doing what you're told for a month, right? So I'm not saying say no forever. You might think I'm going to have to sign up eventually, but I'm begging of you, defer your decision for a month, watch what happens, because there are people around you who love and honour you, and you're leading by example. Right? So I've heard people say, well, Mike, you say this, brave talk, but you'll be eventually forced with your tail between your legs to sign up. And it's like, that's already defeatist talk. If we don't sign up for digital ID, they can't control us. So if you're told you have to or else, take the or else, right? Take the or else, and tell them things like, I've heard you, ask me again in a month. I'm not saying no forever, but ask me again in a month. I want to see how this develops. Same attitude to any new jab, right? If you're not confident that you want to say no and push people back, just say, Ask me again in a month. Defer every decision, because I think they are step by step into what I call it the human abattoir. If you allow yourself to be controlled by digital ID, digital only money, and these ghastly new preparations that I think are designed to, they are toxic by design, you're walking into a killing machine. But they cannot impose it on us. I don't think the supranational people have got the power to impose it on us. They frighten us and then kind of persuade us to do what they want. So our job is to say, basically, as it says in the Bible more often than anything else, do not be afraid.
Well, it is written, we have not been given a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind.
Absolutely.
And that's how to fight back.
That's how we fight back.
I've got to say, Dr. Yeadon, Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been lovely talking to you.
Absolute pleasure.
Lovely meeting you during the day. It's our first meeting. So
we had a lovely lunch here in London, a long chat, and I hope that we will continue this conversation again, because you know, Mike is a real freedom fighter. He's an absolutely top scientist. He you know, listen to what he's saying. He knows exactly what he's talking about. I would trust the science from this man rather than Dr. Fauci any day.
There you go. I'm all right. Go and check up that John Lamartina document in Forbes. It was February 2017, and it was turning Pfizer discards into gold. So that tells you what a C-suite person thought of this guy 3 years before the pandemic.
Well, all I would like to say is thank you once again, Mike. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's my duty, by the way. You know.
Well, we all feel
this.
We all feel that.
You must stand up. If you know it's wrong, stand up and say this is wrong, folks.
Stand up and be counted. Well, listen, to all the people who are tuning in on this, once again, I really do appreciate your support. You know, I've been doing a lot over these last few months, and sometimes when I'm traveling, sometimes when I'm away, I don't always get the time to reply to everybody, maybe in the DMs or what have you. But there's a lot of great things happening. And once again, my sincere gratitude. I do read the comments. I do appreciate the comments and the likes and the shares. It really helps to get that message out. So thank you, each and every one of you. And remember, as the world gets darker, we get brighter. Keep fighting for freedom. Stay strong. And we will speak soon. This is Jim Ferguson. Until next time, bye for now.